Hey everybody, Rob John Webb here, and this course I'm giving away is another full-length one. So this was made about 3 years ago, and it's an old school piano, techno, acid house course all in one. So it's directed at beginners and kind of intermediate producers, so feel free to take this course. It's completely free, no catch. I've made this a few years ago, as I say, and I've put it into sequence order in here in one full video, so you can use it at your own disposal. Okay, this bit is really important though. Basically, the Novation synth that I used on here is no longer available. So if you've got it, then great, use it. But if you've not, read the notes in the resource folder, and there's alternatives in there which you can download for free. There's one from Full Bucket, which is the modulaire, and then there's a JC303 synth, which replaces the one from the Novation. So make sure you grab those and just use those in the same way that I show on the course. So other than that, that's it. So it's basically a track that's like using 808s, 909s. It's got the lately bass sound in there. It's got chord pad sounds in there, which are, you know, reminiscent of Detroit techno from back in the day. It's got pianos. It's got acid in there as well towards the end. So it's got a mixture of everything that created that old school, late 80s sort of acid house, Detroit, Chicago-y hybrid sound, if you like. So take from this what you will. There's the samples pack is at the bottom here in the resources, so you can grab that. There's a couple of plugins that you might need as well, so they're in there as well, the links in the resource. So go and grab those for either Mac or PC, whatever you want. And enjoy the course and let me know how you get on. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon. Hey there, and welcome to this course where we're going to create a track influenced by the late Chicago acid house styles. Now then, first things first, before we do any programming, we want to make sure that we've got all of the VSTs installed from the third parties. So basically, the 4 VSTs that come within the resources folder that you had when you downloaded the course. Now that is the OXE VST, the V station, the B station, and the Surge, okay? Now the thing is with the V station and the B station, once you've downloaded those from the link provided, you have to go to their website and download them. Once you've got those, there is a file that comes with it, and basically when you've downloaded it, there'll be a file there, a little blank file, and in that is your license code. So you'll click on that, and that will be the code to license the V station and the B station, and then they should work in their full working order. Otherwise they'll run in demo mode. And the OXE is a straightforward DLL file which you copy into your VSTs, and that should just work straight away. And the same for the Surge. You install the Surge, and that should work perfectly fine as well without too much complications. But if you have any problems, just email me and I will respond within 24 hours and I'll be able to get you going with it. So you've got the 4 synths installed. Now what we want to do is put in some beats. Okay, so for this session we're just going to do the drums. So what we need to do is go to our drum rack on the left here and get an 808 core kit like that. Drag that onto channel 1, onto the first MIDI channel. Okay, now we're going to just record in 16 bars of kicks where we're going to draw them in. So what we need to do is just set up a position. You're more than likely going to start over here down at 3 or down at 1, wherever you want to start. I'm over here because I've already programmed it in. I'm going to reprogram it in now. So I'm going to double click on a piece of MIDI there like that and get a blank MIDI up. I'm going to raise the piano roll, and the loop button should be on here. Okay, so now what I want to do is put in some kicks. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, just a straightforward 4 to the floor drum pattern. Okay, now if you look up here you'll see those 4 kicks within there. Now what we can do is we can get the anchor on the end of here, that little tiny square shape there, and pull it across. Okay, so what we want there is 4, 8, 12, 16 kicks. Okay, now what we want to do, that should play like this, straightforward. Okay, but what we want to do before we do anything else is go to audio effects, grab a drum bus and put it down here like so. I've already done mine. Put the drum bus down there, and basically it just gives the kick a lot more punch. If you take the drum bus off, it's weak. Put the drum bus on, it gives us that extra punch that we need. We can fine tune it later on. Next up then, what we need to do is get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more channels with the 808 drum kit on. Okay, because we're going to individually program each sound in. So go on to channel 2 and put in snare 808. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same process where we double click and we have some blank MIDI, but we're going to extend it one across like so. Okay, what we want to do is take off the loop button first down here on the snare channel, take the loop button off on the bottom left, extend it across, open up your piano roll, and you'll see the snare here, look, on this channel here, on the there. What we want to do with the snare is we want to program in every other kick. So it's the first kick will play, the kick drum will play, then a snare, then a kick drum, then a snare. So we're placing the snare not on every one like we did with the bass drum, straight in on the second one and the fourth one, like so, like that. Okay, but what we want to do is we want to extend it furthermore, like so, and we want to put in another snare there and another one there, like that. So we've got 4 snares in, each missing a drum beat. So the kick, snare, like that. But what we want to do on the very last one at the 4/4 point is add another snare, like that. So it plays on the offbeat, so it goes like this. And if we loop that, you'll see what I mean. There, and it gives us that kind of offbeat snare. Okay, now instead of looping that, just copy it over like so, because otherwise it will miss that last snare. Okay, so now then, what we've done is we've got this like so. So we should have that, a snare and a kick drum. Perfect. Okay, so what we want to do next is the clap. Okay, so the same process again. Double click on a piece of MIDI, okay, and extend it across. Take your loop off first, then extend it across the same length as your snare. Okay, now if you look in your MIDI piano roll, you'll get the clap down here. You put one there, miss one, and add another one, like so. Okay, and then what we want to do is just copy that over, copy and paste. So Control and your left mouse button, or Command if you're on a Mac, and play that. And there we go. It's that simple. But what we want to do is we want to put a little bit of delay on the clap. So if you press your tab key and go to session view, you will see that you will have a reverb and a delay on the send channels. Now you can send those effects to any one of these channels by simply turning up the send B or the send A, whichever it is you want. So on the claps we want to put a bit of delay, so let's turn the send up on the B delay to about 2 o'clock, and then put some reverb on the A delay to about 10 o'clock. And just gives it that little bit of thing. If it's too loud, just knock it down a little bit. Another thing worth noting as well is turn your master gain down to about -6, so in between the 12 and the 0 point, and we'll get back to that later. This is for the mixing stage later on, but for now you should have the kick, the snare and the clap with some delay. Next up is what we want to do now is put in the hi-hats. So the hi-hats are the 808 hi-hats. So we've got 2 closed and an open one. So we're going to play a pattern like that, but we're going to draw it in, so don't worry about it if you haven't got a keyboard or you're not comfortable with playing it in. So again, double click on it, take the loop off and extend it across to there. So we've got 4 instances of it. Open up your thing, your piano roll. Now then, we want this hi-hat here, we want this closed one here like that, and we want to put this one there so it plays like that. So at the 0.1 and 112. But then what we want to do is we want to put an open hat at 113. So look for open hat, which is on the B flat key there. Double click there, widen it like so to the 114 part. But what we need to do is turn the decay off of that hi-hat. So go to your hi-hat panel down here in your drums rack. Look for the hi-hat open panel here, which is this one. Now for you, it should be playing like this, with all that delay on it, that decay. So what we want to do is get the flag here, bring it right up and shorten it. Okay, so double click on it again. Now we've got, see, just got that pattern. But what we want to do is we don't want it to repeat. So we take one of the closed hats and put that there. Okay, then another open hat, put that there at 1.23. So it goes. Now what we can do is we can grab all that and duplicate it, starting at the 1.3 mark. So we repeat it, so it goes. And now if you play it, it should play like that. Then what you want to do is just copy and paste it over like so. And there we go. Okay, that's that sorted. So that's it for this lesson. It's a lot to take in. So head over to the next lesson when you're ready, and we'll do the toms, the perks, and the crash. Thanks for watching. Any questions, just email me and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hi, and welcome to lesson 2, where we're going to continue with the drums. In this lesson, we're going to add some toms and some perks and the crash. So, in the previous lesson, we did the basic beat, which we should have that by now. Okay, now move your looper across and then copy some kicks over so you've got just the kicks playing, and loop that section. And what we want to do is make sure that we've got a channel, which we had in the previous lesson, where the toms can have their own channel. Now the toms are 3 sounds on the keyboard. Those. So if you look at your piano roll, you'll see the toms are here at the high, the mid, and the low, and they're all on the white keys. So it's on the A, the G, and the F. A, G, G, F, F. Okay. So what we're going to do is we want to record a pattern in like this. Just a repetitive pattern like that. So that it goes like this. And I'm going to play it in, and then you can see what I've done. If you struggle, then you can just see the notes on the screen, and you can get the file within the template anyway. So here goes. Very, very simple. There's no right or wrong way of doing this. You can program the toms in any way you like. Like that. You know, you can do any sort of pattern, but I'm just keeping it really simple so that it gives you the skills and the confidence to develop this furthermore. There you go. And if I loop that now, 3 highs, 5 mids, and 2 lows. So it goes from there, look. 3, 5, and 2. And that's that. So what we want to do then is just copy that across and extend that, right click, select and consolidate, and then we've got the toms in. Now what we want to do is we want to add some perks. So we want to add some extra sounds in there from the cowbell, the rim shot, and the clave, okay, which is these sounds. And the cowbell, the infamous cowbell. So it's just going to go like this. Right, so I'm just going to record this in. I encourage you to just record your own pattern, and just not be, you know, too influenced by exactly what I do. If you can come up with your own pattern, then that's great. But by all means, do copy this. And if you struggle, grab the MIDI from the file anyway and just put it into the track. So here goes. Right. So I missed out the cowbell on the first instance there, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to program it in. So there we go. So I'm going to quantize those, and I'm going to put another cowbell there. And there we are. So let me just loop that, and then I'll play it for you, and you can see on the screen what it looks like. So you've got these 2 sounds down here, look, the rim shot, which is... And it's just about experimenting with them. You know, you don't have to be accurate. They're just like drums, percussion sounds, so they can be used in the gaps where the drum solo is. And they can be used throughout the track as well, which we will do. So if you was to put them into the track here, look. So it's just perfect. But for this track, we're just going to use these for our drum solo breakdown section. Okay, now then, the next up, what we want to do is we want to get a 909 crash, because we're not going to use the 808 crash on this. I think the 909 crash is just a lot chunkier and a lot funkier. So go to drums, go to 909 core kit, and throw that over onto a fresh channel, okay? And the 909 crash, there's 2 of them on here, but we want the first one, which is the C sharp one, not that one, the lower one. And all we want to do is just find the key on there, which, as I say, is C sharp 2. And we're just going to press record, and it's going to come over through like this. And there we go. So let's double click on that, open that up, and then quantize that. And we've got our crashing. And that's that. So that's what we need to do for that lesson. So let's just have a quick recap on what we've got. We've got the toms, the perks with the cowbells, the clave, and the rim shot, and the 909 crash. So put them all together with our drums. And as I say, don't forget to experiment with the perks and the toms. You don't have to do the patterns that I've done, but it's just good practice to copy what I've done, and then you can develop that furthermore. So that's it for this lesson. Head over to the next lesson where we're going to record the bass line. Thank you, and any questions, just contact me, and I'll respond within 24 hours. Thank you and goodbye. Hey there, and welcome to lesson 3 where we're going to record the bass line. Now remember, in the resources pack you downloaded the OXE VST synth, and in there is what we want to be using for the bass line. Now the OXE, once you've installed it, looks like this, okay? And if you click on your little drop down here, look, you'll see all of the presets that are available for this synth. Now, the one we want is the lately bass, okay, which is this one here. And it's a classic bass line that's been used many times and is quite synonymous with house music. It's quite round. So we're going to record a very simple bass pattern like that, where it's going to go, okay, like that. And I'm going to record it over the drums that we've been recording in already. So, but I'm going to put the metronome on first, and I'm just going to give myself 4 ticks before we get in there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to solo the kick and this lately bass, okay, like this. And then I'm just going to record in the bass pattern, and you can follow what I've done. And I've done 2 patterns there, and one is more busy than the other. So there you go, look, there's our pattern. I'm going to select all the notes and quantize, and now let's solo the pattern on its own completely. Let's take the metronome back off, and there you go. So you can see I play 2 Ds, 4 Cs, 2 As, and 3 A sharps, B flats, and then the second part is just a less busy part, so that can be used later on for a breakdown section. So let's just loop this bit that we've done, which is the more busier notes with all of the notes in. And there you go. Don't worry about the EQing as such on this, we're going to come back to that later on. Let's just get all the stuff in, and then we can start arranging. So that's your bass line, okay? And let's go to the next part, and this is a less busier. It leaves a gap, and that can be used, you know, for later on when we do a different variations. So the thing to do then with this bass line is to select the half, split it in half, right click, change the colour of it, and you know that you've got 2 different basses. So I'm just going to call this one bass 2 and the first one bass 1, so that we know we've got 2 different instances of that bass. So we'll do that like so. Right, now then, that's the bass line recorded in. Let's go on to the next section, which we are going to put in the high string. Now the high string is on the V station. Now you should have installed this, and it looks like that, and you should have got the license key when you downloaded it as well, so you get the full version. The sound that we want to use, this is a great synth, this is fantastic for dance music. Now this sound that we want to use is strings 3, okay, and we want to go up the octaves to the 5th octave, and we're going to record in those 4 notes exactly the same as the bass line, but in a higher octave with the string sound. And we're going to hold the notes down and follow the bass pattern. So we're going to go D, C, A and A sharp, okay? So again, I'm going to put the metronome on, and then we'll go from there. So here goes. I'm going to give myself a count of 4. Okay, so let's look at that. Let's just edit that, double click on it, and open that up. And as you can see, those 4 notes. So there you go, look, we've got those 4 notes in. It's just basically creating a top melody line over the bass pattern. So they're all in the same place, look. Each note changes the same time as the bass notes change, okay? So make sure your notes are not necessarily rolling over into each one, okay? And then let's loop that section. And that's it. those 4 notes, D5, C5, A4 and A sharp 4, B flat. Okay, so that's the high string and the bass line. So now we should have our drums, our percussion, our high string and our bass line. And that's it for this lesson. So a recap then, you should have got your bass line done from the OXE and the high string from the V station. Thank you very much, and head over to the next lesson where I will start doing the minor chords and the pianos. Thank you and goodbye. Hi there, and welcome to lesson 4 where we're going to add the minor chord synth and the piano riff. Now then, in the minor chord synth is from the Surge. Now when you've downloaded it and installed it, it should look like this. You might have an updated version now, but this is the first version that I've got. It's been updated since I downloaded it, so it might look slightly different. However, what we want to do is use a sound called the minor 7. If you just click on your left button there, and you'll have all the presets in here, okay? Now what you want to do is find chords and choose minor 7, okay? And that's this sound. Classic Chicago deep techno sort of sound. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play in 3 notes, and we're going to mute the high string, okay, because we're going to leave these two probably separate in the arrangement. We might not, but at the moment we will. So we just want the bass line on with the drums. Now what we want to do is the 3 notes that we play are going to be the same as these, but we're going to miss out the C and extend the D, okay? So I'm going to play it now for you. I'm going to show you what to do. So you go down to the 2nd octave, so D2, C2, A1, A sharp 1. So it's going to sound like this. We're going to hold down the D for longer, then the A sharp. So rather than go like this with what we did with the high string, we're going to leave out the C and just extend the D. Now I'm going to drop the bass there, look, so you can see that I'm going to hold this note all the way along there till we get to there and then there. So I'm going to press record, and here we go. Let's take the loop off a sec. And that's it, as simple as that. Crop the clip, double click on it, open it up, and then select all of these notes and quantize. So let's just open them up so you can see where they are. D2, A1 and A sharp 1, okay? And make sure that they run to the end of the lines on each note. And there we go. So let me just loop that section, right click and loop. And that's that. And then just duplicate that over and have another instance of it there. Now then, next up is the piano. So what we want to do is go to your instruments on the left panel, go to instrument rack, piano and keys, and grand piano, okay? And we're going to drag that onto a channel. But what we're going to do is go to session view again and put a load of delay on that piano so it sounds like this. Just have that kind of, you know, housey sort of echo delay on there. And put some reverb on it about 11 and 12 o'clock if you want. And that's the riff we're going to play, okay? So it's a little jangly riff, but I'm going to just show you how to play it. So if you struggle to play with the keys, you can either grab the MIDI from the Ableton template or just watch what I do and draw it in. So we're going to play a G and a D like that, and then a C with the G still. So then a G and an A, and then a G and the A sharp. And they're just going to be stabbed just like that. It's going to be really straightforward. So what I'm going to do, metronome on again, and then we'll go through it nice and slowly so you can see. And that's it. Let's open this up and go into it. Right, so as you can see, the notes are all there like that. I'm going to quantize them and then loop this section here. So let's just get this bit right. Okay, loop that. So if you notice, the first half of the riff is longer notes and then it's stabbed on the second side. So basically they're faster. They're more triplets on that side. So let's focus on this first side first. So the notes, let's solo that. If you just look at the positioning of the notes, so it's a G and a D twice, a G and a C 4 times, a G and an A twice, and a G and an A sharp 4 times. So if we just take off the delay, and there's your classic house riff. So you can either draw that in yourself, or you can copy the MIDI, or you can play it in yourself. Let's go to the second section where it's faster. And here it goes. So I've just sped it up, I've just, doubled it up. And let's put the delay back on. About 3 o'clock on the delay. And let's put the minor chord on. And the bass line. And the kick. And again, what we need to do is split the piano into two. So we've got piano 1 and piano 2, okay? So call that piano 2 and just change the colour of it so we know that it's a different pattern. Okay, so that is it for this lesson. We have now the minor chord from the surge with the 3 notes and the piano in with the riff. Okay, so head over to the next lesson where we're going to focus on the acid bass line. Thanks for watching. Any questions, just email me. Thank you and goodbye. Hi, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to put the acid bass line in. Now, the quick and easy way to do this without having to re-record it in is basically get up your bass station synth, so make sure that you've installed it and you've got the license set up on it as well, which should come when you downloaded it. Now then, it looks like that, and what we want to do is we want to choose a sound from the drop down called TB303 Auto Glide Bass, okay? So what we need to do is basically turn the portamento down and then go to your tiny little arrow down here, look. You see this arrow here? Click on this and extend the configuration here. Click on configure, okay, and now it will light up green. And then what you want to do is move the filter with your mouse, the res with your mouse, and the envelope here, envelope 2 with your mouse, okay? And then they should light up down here like so. Once they've done that, press configure again, close that, and now we have assigned those 3 to this here, the keychain, the automation. And I'll come back to that later on. But for now, we've assigned those buttons, so make sure you've assigned them. And anyway, to get the sound in, what we want to do is we want to go to MIDI effects here, grab C major walk 16th grooved from that arpeggiator file, grab that, bring that down to the channel where the bass station is, change it to up and down, change the groove to straight, 1/16 rate, 50% on the gate. And now if you put the data in, you'll be able to play this in. But what we're going to do, you don't have to play it back in. All you have to do is grab the data that you used to record the surge in, which was the minor sound there, the minor chord, double click on it, open it up, select the notes like so, okay, and then come down 1 octave to the D1, and this should play just right. And there you go. Okay, so that's all you need to do for that. So let's just put that in there and put that there. So a quick recap on that. You get the minor chord data, bring it down, open it up, select the notes because they're on D2, and just drop them 12 semitones to D1. And that will play in the same time as the minor chord and the piano now. So if you do that, if you solo those together, look. So quick recap then. We should have everything in place now. You've got your drums, your percs, your bass, your high string, your minor chords, your piano, and now your acid bass line, okay, like that. And don't worry about the acid being flat and static at the minute. That's why we did those configuration buttons earlier, because we're going to move them about like so. So we're going to have programmed these in so they automate, so they're constantly moving through the track. So we'll come back to that later on in the arrangement. Right, so that's it for this lesson. Head over to the next lesson where we are going to do the vocals. And after that, we'll be progressing towards the arrangement stage. So any questions, just contact me. Thank you very much and goodbye. Hi, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to now put in some vocal samples. Within your resources pack, there should be 3 vocal hooks. And now they're just here, just designed so that you can use them, just to put them in the track sporadically. Just to give you an idea of putting in little vocal samples and stuff, just for the purposes of developing your own techniques, really. So in your samples pack, you should have 3 vocals, and they sound like this.
House is more than just a feeling. Back to the old school.
And then the other one is the woo sample. Okay, so what you want to do is just create 2 audio channels and put the vocals first. Get the 2 speaking vocals on the same channel, okay? And then put them in there like so, and they should just drop in. And then what we need to do with those is put some delay on. So go to your session view and turn up send to about halfway and reverb to about halfway. And the same for the whoa vocal as well. Turn that up halfway on both of those. We'll EQ these later on, but not to worry about them now. So now let's try those vocals first. Play the house one first.
House is more than just a feeling.
So that just trickles over.
Back to the old school.
And then the same for the whoa. So it has that delay on the end. So if we put that on with a nice beat and a little bit of a bass line, and then put your other vocal on, and then your minor chord.
Back to the old school. House is more than just a feel.
And that's it. That's all we've got to do for this lesson. So just put those onto your track, stick them in at the start of the arrangement like so. So you should have now all of the elements in place.
House is more than just a feel. Back to the old school.
And that's it. So, a very short tutorial there. What we're going to do now is we're going to head over to our arrangement session where we're going to start to put the track into a order. Thanks for watching. Any questions at all, just contact me and I'll respond within 24 hours, as you know, and I'll help you with any issues you may have. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Hi there, and welcome to this lesson where we're now going to begin the arrangement. In the previous lesson, we did the vocals and we got all of the elements into the arrangement. So what we need to do now is start laying it out and developing the track. We're going to make this track about 6 minutes long, and we're going to do the traditional DJ friendly version where we're going to start with drums and then build it up like that. We could start off with just pads and filter it up and build it quite atmospheric, but for the purposes of this, you know, when you finish this, if some of you are DJs, you probably want to play it in your own little set, so it's wise to start with beats so that you can use it in your DJ sets a lot easier. What we're going to do, we're going to start with the claps and the hi-hats. So get your hi-hats and your claps that we did, and we're going to copy over 32 beats of that. So we're going to have like this. Like so. But what we'll do is we'll get a crash at this point here, and we'll continue over the drum beats. What we probably should do here actually is right click on all of those and consolidate them, and the same for these here. If you need to label them, then by all means do so, label them. So hi-hats and then claps, just so that in case yours aren't already labeled, but mine weren't. So I'm going to have 32 beats of that, and then 32 bars there, and then we're going to start like this. We'll probably put a crash here as well, look, so it starts with the crash into the hats and the clap. So there we go. And then at the end, we're going to add the kicks, and we're going to continue the drums that we've done. So we're going to copy over those 32 bars again, and then we're going to add 32 bars of the kick as well, like so. and that's going to build up like that. Okay, so what we can do here is we could put in the woo vocal. Okay, so we could put in the woo vocal just as the kick starts like this, so it just gives it a little bit of an intro, and then another one right after there, look. So we've got one coming in every 16. It just has that old school vibe already, doesn't it? You know. And then here, what we'll do is these last 4 kicks, we're going to drop them out, okay? We're going to take them out. So just select them and delete them, okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the drums again. But this time, we're going to make sure that bit's, you know, not dropped out. But then we're going to put a crash there, like so, after those dropouts there. So when it kicks back in, there's a crash there, okay? Put your whoa vocal back in. And then what we're going to do is we're going to introduce the bass line, the second bass line, right? So this is the one where we dropped out a note, if you remember. So it goes. So if we just go. So we're missing that note, aren't we? We're missing those extra notes. So we're going to use bass 2 as the build-up bass, okay? So let's copy 4 of those over that will fit the 32 bar gap there, okay? So it will go like so. And it gently builds up like that. Put another woo in there. But at this point, what we want to start doing here, at this point, is copy over everything again, and then we're going to put in the snare. So let's grab our snare drum, like so, and duplicate that over. I don't know what that's doing there, but let's get rid of that. And like so. So here it goes. But at the same time as the snare comes in, we're going to filter in the surge minor chord, okay? So if we just grab the minor chord, put that in the same place as where the snare starts to come in. Now what we need to do here is add an auto filter so that we can manipulate this and automate it. So let's just do a quick recap before we move forward. So we started here with the claps. So that's building up, imagine that. And then here is where the kick drum comes in. That's going to build up furthermore, and that's going to be another 32 bars. And then it gets to this point, and we drop the kicks out for the last 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass. And the bass builds up nice and gently with that note missing, so that it's not too full on. And then here comes the snares and the minor chord pad. But that comes in too heavily, so this is where we need to add the auto filter. Now we could automate the one on here, which is this one. Let's just solo this. But I just think it's a little bit, once it gets too low, it's a little bit too much. So we're going to leave that in the halfway position. But let's look at it higher up. So we're going to leave that as it is. And what we'll do is we'll go over to audio effects, we'll go to auto filter, and we'll put an auto filter on the surge channel. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to draw in the auto filter so that it automates through the tracks so you don't have to do it. And the way to do that is click the drop down menu here and click this little keychain here. Make sure that's turned on. And then you'll see the options in this drop down menu. Select auto filter, and then the second one down, select frequency. And now you're going to get this red line across here. Now what you need to do is we need to automate this area. So first of all, before we do that, we need to copy over everything again, like so. Okay. Put the woo vocals back in every 8 bars, like so. But then on the auto filter, we've got this red line, as I say. You need to click on with your mouse outside of the area we're going to automate, so that when we click here again, You pull that down. All of the sound on this side down here will not be affected by the automation because we're only automating this area. So if you do a dot there and then a dot there, anything you do past here will now be automated. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the filter here, and we're going to look at down here. Look, you see how low it goes when I move this red dot up there. It moves automatically. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring it down about just before the halfway point, just after the halfway point. And then we're going to do another dot on the line, and we're going to raise it up like so until we get to the very end where we're going to have it touching the ceiling. Okay, so imagine that's the floor, that's the ceiling. So we're going to do that. We're going to trial and error this now. If this is too low, we'll just raise the intro like so. So here goes. Let's see what it sounds like. It's too low. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit like that. And let's try again. So we just need, if it's too inaudible, then just bring it up a little bit more, like so. So about just before the halfway point. That's better. And it fades in now nice and smoothly. And you'll see this moving down here. And this is where we need to do some snare rolls now. So we're going to add an extra snare channel so that we can transition this over into the next part. So what we do is we right click on our snare and duplicate it. And then what we need to do is delete all of the data that we've duplicated on that channel except one box at the end, okay? So let's get rid of that. So in here, look, we're going to change the color of this so we know we've got a different color snare. So that's something that we've not used yet. So go to red. And then I'm going to assign the track to different color clips so that we continue the same color as it is on the right hand panel. Double click on it, and we're going to draw in a fast snare roll. So it's going to go. So what we need to do is, if you see how we've got our snares down here, we need to copy them like this. So we need to have 1, 2, 3, and 4 like so, like that. So it goes. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4. Copy those across. We've got 8 like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then here, we're going to shorten it again like this. Let's get this right. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. But we're going to leave those last two as they are, like so. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then leave those last two. So it goes like this, look. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a very similar thing with the crash. So if you drop down the snare like so and widen it so you can see those notes there. Okay. This just helps you with the guidance. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a crash. You're going to put one crash there, and then you're going to shorten it with the anchor like so. So it's going to go like this, look. So it's going to shorten it to there. We're going to have 1, 2, and then we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So then it goes like this. Okay, and it's classic old school technique that. It's, you know, it's one of those kind of snare rolls where you combine the crashes with it just so that it gives it that movement. So that's a classic technique there. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to drop it down to another part of the arrangement. So that's it for this lesson. Head over to the next lesson when you're ready, and we'll continue the arrangement. But a quick recap, we started off with the hats and the claps and the crash, and then the kick comes in with the vocal, then the bass line, then the filtered minor chord pad. Builds up, comes up gently, and then we have the snare and the crash roll. What we'll do in the next session is we will do the same here with these kicks. Okay, I mean, you could do it right now. All you have to do is copy that up there like so, double click on that one at the top that you've done, select all the notes and just bring them down to the kick, and then we shall have a snare roll and a kick drum roll as well. So it should go like this then. And that just gives it that extra pump that we need, that extra pumping feel that we need for there, because otherwise the kicks will play 4/4 and these are getting faster and it just doesn't quite ride out. So that's what we need to do. And we need to delete those snares as well. Don't forget to delete that bar of the snare as well. I almost forgot. So it goes like this. And then it's ready for the next section. So it's a lot to take in, but don't be afraid to contact me and ask me if you need any help or whatever. And also refer to the template as well in the resources pack of this track, where you can just look at some of the parts and, you know, try and copy them yourself. So head over to the next lesson and I'll catch you then. Thank you and goodbye. Hi there and welcome to this lesson where we're going to continue with the arrangement. Now in the last lesson we got the snare roll and the kick roll done and the crashes and the filter of the minor chord. So it goes like this. And it stops right there. So what you need to do now to continue the arrangement is we're going to drop down to just a kick, the minor chord, and we're going to bring the piano in and some vocal. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to get some kicks and copy them over, and then we're going to have a crash just there like that. We're going to leave out the hats and the claps. We're not going to do that. And then what we're going to do is we are going to copy over the minor chord 1, 2, 3, 4 times. And if you notice in the minor chord, you'll see there's little dots in here, look, where we've copied this part of the filter. So when it's selected to auto filter and frequency, what we need to do is highlight the bottom area of those 4 notes there. Don't highlight the pink area. Just select your mouse, click on your left mouse button and highlight those parts there and just press delete. And all of those dots will disappear. Now we're going to draw in some fresh automation where it's going to filter back down instantly. So what we need to do is get a dot halfway through the first pink block that we've just copied over, bring it down like so, and then bring it across to the line there to the start of it. And then the last one at the end here, on the previous one we did, grab that and bring it right across to the line there, so it instantly cuts off like so. Like that. So we're going to filter it down and bring the track back up. So then let's do that. So we've got that done in, so make sure that that's done. Copy your woo vocal over, and then we need to get the blue piano, and we'll put the blue piano in right there where the new minor chord is. Duplicate that over 4 times, and for this what we're going to do is we're going to fade it up in terms of the volume. So we're going to choose mixer in the piano here, and then track volume like that. And again, the same situation where we click on there outside and then we click a dot on the inside and we bring it down. But this time, we're not filtering it, we're just rising up the volume. So we have to be careful how we do this. Because if we go too low, you won't hear a thing. So if I just solo that now, look, you can't hardly hear it because you won't hear the mix because it's gone 30 decibels below. So we need to have it just about, say, 15 decibels down. Okay? And that's probably about halfway on the volume if you look, just above halfway. So 24 is the halfway point. So if we go down to say 18.5 and then do another dot and we're going to bring it up and put it to the ceiling like we did there. Now remember we did also the delay on here as well on the piano so that it rolled over, so it just has that jingly effect. So let's have a look at this. Let's just solo that, play that. And it's creeping in. So this is flat, this is creeping in. But we don't want to push it to the ceiling. I've just realised that's my bad. Make sure it only goes to 0 dB, like that. So it's got to be on 0 dB. I was thinking in terms of filters, so ignore that. Now this part, this is where we want to filter in these again. So we're going to copy these over like so. And we're going to copy the piano over like that. Now that's at 0 dB. But this here, we're going to do a dot there and a dot there, like so. And we're going to start to bring this up, the filter. So we come back into the track like so. So let's go like this up. But then what we do before we do that is we're going to bring in the vocal, one of the vocal snippets. So get the first vocal snippets, which says house. What does he say? Let's have a look.
House is more than just a feel.
House is more than just a feeling. So we're going to bring that in just about here. So let's see if it fits.
House is more than just a feeling.
We're going to put it there. But what we need to do, if yours is like mine, which it will be, you need to zoom in on it, and we need to clip off the beginning bit there because it's just comes in a little bit too slow. So we're going to bring it back to the line there, but we're going to double click on it, open up the panel, and over here you'll see where it says beats. What we need to do is change that to Complex Pro, which is the bottom one. Now what that means is, if you're unfamiliar with that, is that when we're warping stuff, if we're warping a drum loop, we're going to leave it on beats because it becomes much tighter. Whereas if you warp in vocals, which are a lot more complex and they're less strict than beats are in terms of timing and quantizing, then we select Complex Pro because it helps with the flexibility of the sample being moved about a bit. So it will change, it will sound different now.
House is more than just a feeling.
So it's clearer now, whereas before on beats it was a bit grainy.
House is more than just a feeling.
Whereas on Complex Pro it's clean. We're going to EQ it later anyway, so don't worry about that. And let's just nudge the volume down a little bit. If you think it's too loud, take it down 1 or 2 decibels. You can either do that here or just press your tab key and bring it down slightly on the level there. And make sure that you've got your delays, which we did in the last lesson anyway. Okay, so this is what we've got so far then for this session. Let's have a look.
House is more than just a feeling.
We could actually, if we highlight every one of the pink woos, go down to here where all of them are highlighted, go to the master template, click beats, click Complex Pro, and we can do that on the Complex Pro there as well. And that's better.
House is more than just a feeling.
And the piano's coming up. Copy over again.
House is more than just a feeling.
And then we need to put in some claps. So what we could do is we could put the claps in there, like say, but we're going to half it. So we're going to open that up there, and you can see we've got all those claps. We're going to half it so it comes in at this point here, okay? So this gives us the chance to build back up later on. So this is how it should sound.
House is more than just a feeling.
And then it drops here. And then the piano's going to come in, and the claps are going to come in. Now. And that's it. Put a woo there as well, and one more there as well, like that. So it goes like this. So that's it. So a quick recap. You should have your pianos coming in on the track volume in the mixer, the auto frequency filter there on the minor chord coming back up, some claps there, the vocals all done with Complex Pro, the crash and some kicks. So take a look at that. And then try and copy that as well. And if you struggle, just look at the template. So that's it for this lesson. We're going to head over to the next lesson where we're going to start to introduce the high string, and then the acid will come in as well, and then we'll do a breakdown with the drums and move forward that way. So that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Any problems, just email me. Thank you and goodbye. Hey guys, and welcome to the next episode where we're going to continue with the arrangement. So in the last one we got the breakdown done, the first breakdown where the piano creeped in and the minor chord faded down with the auto filter like so and rised back up. Now then, what we're going to do here is we're going to continue this and build it up into the main body of the track where everything will come in. But first of all, what we need to do is keep the bass line going, just 4 more instances of the bass like so, up until where the kick drops out, okay? And then we'll put we'll play that like this, so you hear that like this, so it just keeps going. And then it starts to fill it up, and then it starts to build up here, and then when the claps come in, at this point we're going to put in some, like a snare roll. It's going to be different to that one that we originally did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit record, and then you'll see how I've programmed it. So here we go. Very simple little stabs there. and I'm going to just put that on that channel, so we'll keep that as the snare roll channel. So let's just rename that snare roll. That's just in case we have two snares playing at the same time. We don't quite think it will happen yet, but you never know. So let's go down here, and then we'll select all the snares that we've just recorded and quantize them. If you're not sure how to quantize them, just select them all, press Control and U on your keyboard, or just select them all like that and go over to Edit and press Quantize. But make sure your quantize setting is on 116. Okay, so we've got that little snare roll in there, look. And then what we'll do is we'll do the same similar thing with the crash, so it'll go like this. Let's get it. Just so it gives it a bit more of an impact. So I'm going to record the crash in like so. And it's a very similar pattern. And we'll quantize that. And there we go. So just look at that. Let's take a look at that so you can see. There's the crash. And then we've got the snare as well. And that just gives us that pumping sort of, build up that we want to get in there. We could put the kicks in as well and do a very similar thing to the kick. So we could take that up there, double click like we did on the previous snare roll, select them all, bring them down to the kick. And that would be even better, gives it a bit more chunky sort of feel to it. So I'm just going to change the colour of that to red so we know what it is. Okay, so that's that. And now what we need to do is get all of our drums. So let's get our drums in there, which is our snare, claps, hats and the kick. We're going to keep the minor chord going, and remember what we did in the last lesson where we selected just this bottom part and pressed delete so that we took away the automation. So that's now in full. Okay, keep the piano going. That's now in full. Put the woo in there. Put the house as a feeling vocal just there, so it goes like, just there. And this will build with the atmosphere.
House is more than just a feeling.
And we'll probably have one here. There.
House is more than just a feeling.
But what we need to do is we need to put in some of the bits here. So we need to put in the high string now. So we need to get the high string and put that over. Okay. And that's what we need to do with that. And then what we should do here is put in the bass line, the busier bass line, because on this one we've got the green one, which is the one with the note missing. Now we'll put in the full one, which is the blue one, which is that one with the more with more notes in it. So we'll keep that going over now. So that will be that bit. So let's see what we've got there then. Let's look. We'll go from here where the bass drops.
House is more than just a feeling. House is more than just a feeling. House is more than just a feeling.
So there you go, it's really kicked in now, and you've got the high string, which gives it that kind of eeriness, which is what we want, that kind of mood. Don't forget to put a crash in there as well on the impact. Woo vocal there, and then what we can do is we can put this snare there, cut that snare out like so, and cut that kick out and put that kick in as well, like with the drum rolls. Copy over the crash that we just did, which let's change the colour of that crash so we know it's a different one, because we don't want to get confused with the normal crash. But here what we should do is cut out the hi-hat, the open hi-hat at the very end. So if we drop the hi-hat down there, select it, break it apart, double click on that, get rid of the open hats, okay, and then what we do, we'll put in a closed hat on every single digit, look, like so. So we'll just fill the gaps in like this, and then this will just then have a more of an impact, so it goes across the snare roll. It just moves over better. So let's just change the colour of that so we know we're dealing with something different. Okay, so then we've got that little breakdown there. We could change the claps as well. I think what we should do is do the same. So let's take that down there, change that to a different colour, double click, select the notes, put them on the clap above it. There you go, got a great little impact there. Okay, so what we need to do now then is duplicate all of that over again, like so. But what we're going to do is we're going to pick up the pace with the hi-hats. So we're going to make it have a lot faster movement now. So copy over a woo there and put in one of the houses just to feeling vocals about, let's say, there.
House is more than just a feel.
And then one there.
House is more than just a feel.
But at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to speed up the hi-hat. So we need to go into the MIDI file there, into the piano roll, and we're going to delete all of those underneath there, okay? And what we need to do is we need to type in 1, 2, but we're going to miss one. Every time this plays, we're going to miss one. We're not going to put one there because it won't play that otherwise. So we'll pull that across there like this. So it goes like this. Let's just get this right. That's right. So we delete that one. And then what we do, we have 2, then we miss 1, then we have 1. So we'll copy all of those across like this. It's easier to just grab them across like that. And now that will play a lot faster. Yeah, cool, and really cool that sounds now. And then again, just copy them over and just drag them like so. And then you should have that. And that just gives the track more pace. So we'll just check that out. So it plays like this with the tick tick, and then it speeds up a little bit here, and then it speeds up there with the open hat. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll probably delete those snares at the moment out of here, and we're going to record in a different snare. So we're going to have a bit more of a movement in the snare, such as it takes pace here, because it picks up here. We've got to kind of pick the snare up. So I'm going to record a pattern in, and then we'll go from there. Just like that. So it just kind of moves about a little bit more, and it doesn't get static. So just double check that. So what you want to do is just try to hit the snare and just, you know, have a little bit of rhythm to it, you know, give it a little bit of movement so it doesn't become boring. So what we need to do is change the colour of that so we know that's a different snare. I'm going to make it pink. And then obviously at this point we cut it out because the snare roll plays anyway. Okay, so that's that done. Let's change the colour of the hi-hat so we know that's a different one as well. Let's go for a orangey colour. Right, now then, so we've got that in, we've got the vocal in there, and we've got that over to there like so. Now then, let's do a similar thing to the claps, okay? So we're going to do a similar thing to the claps where we're going to have claps just moving about a bit amongst the new snare. So here goes. And there we go. We've got a whole new set of claps in there. Very similar to the snare, but they just moved about a bit. Let's just put one out. One's where we've missed. Let's put one in there. One there. Probably put one there as well. Probably put one there like that. Let's have a look. There you go. And that again, it's just, let's change the colour of that so we know it's different. And let's have a quick recap on what we've done. So we've got the build up done, we put the bass line in there. Cuts out, build up.
House is more than just a feel. House is more than just a feel. House is more than just a feel.
vocal there.
Passes more than just a feel.
And then put a woo in the middle there as well. You could put a crash there as well with the woo, which might help it, you know, have a bit more impact. Better. So that's it. There's a lot to take in there, and obviously if you struggle, let me know and I'll help you, but also check the template out as well for reference. But by all means, experiment with the claps on the second round of the main body of the track when you go round again. Change the snares, paste the hi-hats up, put them into triplets so they go but don't play them at the same time as the open, otherwise it will cut out. Then head over to the next lesson where we're going to start implementing the toms and the perk breakdown, and we might put the perks in amongst this section as well, just sneak them in there just to introduce them, and then we'll focus on the next part of the arrangement. Thank you very much for watching, and get in touch if you need any help. Thank you and goodbye. Hi there, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to continue with the arrangement, where we're going to start to break it down a little bit. Now then, what we've got is the main body of the track here, and then it builds up here. So now what we want to do is we want to kind of drop it down a bit and introduce the toms and change the piano around. So if you remember, we had the second piano, we did another piano where we had more notes in there. That one. So we're going to put that in. Okay, so first things first, let's copy over the kicks. And we'll copy them over. We'll put a crash in there, and we will put a woo there, and this time we'll get the second piano. So we're going to grab the green piano down here. As you can see, this is why it's best to color code everything. Okay, so copy those over, and then get the green bass line again, the bass line that had less notes in, and we'll put that over for those four as well. And let's just see what happens there. Perfect. So we've got that there, and then what we want to do is let that play through those, and then we'll copy those over again like so. And at this point we're going to introduce, we'll probably lose the piano there, so we'll have that piano just for the four, put a woo in, and then we're going to put in the toms. So let's grab the toms from over here, which is this one, and put them there like so. So it goes like this. And there. Okay, so what we need to do is kind of fill that a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to get that second vocal, and that old school vocal, and we're going to put it just before this bass line changes here, before the toms come in here.
Back to the old school.
Like that, back to the old school. So
back to the old school.
Okay. Now what we could do is we could throw the perks in there as well straight away. Let's see how that fares.
Back to the old school.
That's cool. But what we'll do is, instead of having the 808 cowbell come in, we'll delete the cowbell from the first block. Okay, so let's change the colour of that. So we'll keep that out of there for the first bit until it gets to here. Then we'll put the one with the cowbell in. So it's just not so straight away, you know. And then the piano will drop out there.
Back to the old school.
Okay, cool. Right, and then at this point, the cowbell comes in. What we should do with that cowbell is put a little bit of delay on it. So if we can just turn to session view, turn it up to about 11 o'clock. That's better. Okay, so what we need to do then, here is where the kick will drop out. Let's copy the perks over, 2 of those over, keep the toms going, put the crash in, and the woo. Get that lined up like so. The bass will drop out and the kick will drop out. Okay. So what we should do is put the claps in. Let's get the normal claps in. You know, the ones that we did in the original version at the start of the course. So we'll put them in like so, like this. Look. But what we ought to do is probably bring in the high string again. Put that in there like that. Let's see what happens there. That's cool. Put a woo in there. And then at this point, we're going to put in the snare and the claps from here, the rolls. And then we're going to bring in the acid. So another woo there. And then the normal claps again. We'll keep them going, like so. And then we'll get the acid. We'll get the first acid that we did, which will go just there, okay? Right. So let's just check that that's okay. What we need to do with the acid, by the way, is I thought about this before I recorded the course, is go to the arpeggiator and change it to thumb up. We had it on up and down, I believe. Let's change it to thumb up. It's just a lot better on there. So this is what the acid will sound like. It's going to filter in as well. And we're going to manipulate all the resonance and the frequency. But we'll probably want to be keeping the minor chord going, but we'll filter it back in again like we did earlier on. So let's change the auto frequency to do a dot there, bring it down halfway, and then keep it about halfway until we get to about here. Okay, like so. And let's just try that. That's cool. Bring it in. We're going to filter it up like that. Cool. So, quick recap on that. So we've dropped out here from the main body of the track to the bass, the kick, and the second piano.
That's more than just a feel.
Put a woo there. And then the second vocal.
Back to the old school.
And that's giving the track a little bit of a breakdown just so that we can have a drum solo. Another vocal there. So let's just do that.
Back to the old school.
And then one more there.
Back to the old school.
We probably should keep the toms going. Yes, keep the toms going. Brilliant. And then that will work its way back up, and then we can introduce the drums again, and then the acid and the piano, and it will all just go off one more time, and then it will come round, and then the outro will happen. So that's it for this lesson. There's a lot to take in again, but if you look at the template, you can study it as well. So just check that out. Now then, so we've got the breakdown with the piano, the kicks, the perks come in, and the toms. Then we have a clap section with the high string and the new vocal, and then the acid will start to come in at this point with the filtered minor chords. Thank you for watching. Any questions, as I say, just get in touch and I'll help you gladly. Speak to you soon and see you in the next lesson. Hey everybody, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to continue the acid build-up. So in the last lesson we got the acid and the minor chords worked out here. Look. So what we want to do is simply copy that over like so there. But you can see here that the frequency has the same as this one. We don't want that to happen because it's rising up. What we want to do is click on the dots and push it up to the ceiling so that it is in full frequency at this point. But then what we want to do on the last one, do a dot there, and bring that second dot down just so that it fades down here as the track builds up. Okay, so you've done that. Now then, what we want to do is get a snare roll in at this last bit here. Okay, so I'm going to put the metronome on and I'm going to record a snare in. Okay, so here goes. And that was all done by hand, obviously, so we're going to tidy that up in a minute. Select all of the notes and quantize. And then the last bit here, just want to make sure that they all go on the lines like this. They're a little bit behind, so they need to go like that. So let's get this right. I'm going to delete them, and I'm just going to tidy this bit up here so I can see exactly what I'm doing. 1, 2, 3, and 4, like that. There we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Copy them over, and then here, fill the gap there like that. Look. So we're going to double it over like so. So it's going to go like this. Look. Okay, and then let's play that back. Perfect. Now what we want to do is a very similar thing with the crashes. So we're going to record the crashes in that are going to bounce off the snare. So it's going to go like this. Look. Just something like that, just some kind of crazy sort of crash rhythmic pattern, and it's going to go like this. And just nudge that down a bit, and there we go. So that is that bit done. You could probably put on the very last bit here, so you take these ones here, just these, copy and paste them up to the kick, okay, and then so that we have the kick roll as well. Double click on it, remember, and then move all of those down to the kick. And it just gives it that extra punch that we need for it to come back in. Okay, right, next up then, let's check. You could put that down onto that one if you wanted, just to keep it different. Because it's a snare roll, we're going to probably do different EQ on that. Okay, so that bit's done. So then we've got the acid coming back in there, the vocal.
Back to the old school.
You could put a woo in there, look, at the same time as the snare. And then have one there, and goes, and then one there, and one there. So it goes. And then here, half it and have whoa, 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 whoa. So it goes. So bring it in. If you open it up, look, and you bring it in here like this, look. So it goes like. Then one there, just there. And one more earlier. There we go. That's it. It's one of those trial and error things that you have to do. But yeah, if you can get it just like that, look. So it goes. And then it'll all come back in, and it just helps with the impact and the movement of the track. It's good to have that kind of experimentation with the vocal. So just a quick recap: your snare roll, your kick drum comes in, your crashes, and your whoa. And don't forget the acid's going to be moving as well, like this. And then round it goes. And then what we need to do is bring in the main body of the track again, but I would bring in this second half where we've got that faster hi-hat. Now let's try it with everything, and if it doesn't sound right, then what we can do is chop a few things out. So I'm going to grab that entire section there with the piano, the high string and everything, and paste it there. Let's see what we've got, and then we'll take that vocal just there, look. Take that vocal out because it's come over from another one. We'll reuse that in a minute, but at the moment, let's just try this. Don't forget the acid to copy that over as well. So what we need to have in that gap there is probably the old school vocal, but we'll fit it in just in that gap there between the woes, like that. Perfect. And don't forget we're going to do a volume on the snare as well, so it's not going to be so crash bang wallop. It's going to be timed up nicely. So let's have a quick recap on this build up then. So here we go.
Back to the old school.
Perfect. It's all in there and it all works together. It's obviously when we do the mixdown, we're going to pan things and EQ them so it sounds even better. But all the body of the track, the main body, is all in there and it works a treat. Now what we should do is reverse this. So we've taken the second half here for the main body. Now what we can do is copy the first section and put it the other way round so that it kind of slows down a bit. But what we'll do here is we'll take the high string out. Okay, let's lose the high string and see what we've got and put a woo in there as well. Okay, and then back to the old school vocal just there. Let's bring that over one more. And there you go. Let's copy your acid over. Okay, so what we need to do, my acid is continuously playing because I've got the hold button on. If your hold button is on, turn that off. Okay, so here we go. So when the acid drops here, that's cool. Don't forget we're going to do the acid automation later on anyway. So get your vocals over again, and then what we can do here is keep the drums going like so. So we keep all of them going like that, and then we can put in keep the bass line going and keep your automated minor going. Let's just check the frequency on that. We could drop this down a bit now, so let's drop that down a bit like that. Keep that right to the line. Make sure you get that straight line in like that and just bring it down a bit, and then we'll keep the acid going. Here we go, let's try this. Perfect. And then at the end here we will bring in that vocal again.
House is more than just a feeling.
So house is more than just a feeling. Then we'll copy all the drums over again. Okay. And then we'll put in that drum, that snare that we used earlier, the one that we changed about, put that in there just to give it a bit of variation. Put your crashes across like this, and then a woo vocal there, and probably keep the acid going for one more round, and then we'll lose the minor chord here, so we'll do a dot there, and then bring it down like so, so it completely kind of disappears.
House is more than just a feeling.
But what we'll do here, instead of having these three notes play, what we'll do is we will combine those two. So consolidate, double click on it, delete every note except the very first one, and drag the very first note to the end of the line there. And that will give us a flat note playing all the way down where we can filter it out, and that will help with the transition of getting rid of that. So that'll be sorted. So
House is more than just a feeling.
But don't forget to continue the bass over as well. What we should do actually here is put in the original bass, which was the green one. So let's bring that back in because it's got lesser notes in, so it's good for the outro.
House is more than just a feeling.
And there we go. And that'll do. That'll be the end of this session, where in the next one we will go and complete the rest of the arrangement. So there's a lot to take in there as usual, but you know, with slow steps you can get the hang of this. And as I say, always refer to the template. So there we are, that's all done. And if you just make sure that we've got the build up done and then the main body of the track all taken care of as well. So any questions, just email me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Hi, and welcome to the final arrangement lesson where we're going to finish off the track with the outro. So we've got the long acid note here, which is going to fade out eventually with the filter when we get round to that. So that plays on its own with the bass and the drums. So what we want to do at this point here, we've copied over this 4 times now, look. So we've got that for the last bit of the track. So what we want to do is we want to grab the perks and we want to bring them in at this one on the 3rd section. If you think that these is 1 section, 2 section, 3 and 4. So on the 3rd bit, bring the perks over and keep them going till the end there, look like so. And that will help with the, you know, the movement of the track. We've got the track building out here. What we want to do is put these vocals in like that.
House is more than just a feel.
But don't forget to put your crashes over.
House is more than just a feel.
So what we want to do is we want to now lose the bass line and the acid. So they're going to go, we're just going to go pure drums now.
House is more than just a feel.
Like that. You could probably bring the toms back in there just for this bit. Let's have a look. That works. Put the crashes in and a woo in the middle. And a house is just a feeling bit there.
House is more than just a feel.
So then we'll keep the drums going again. But this time what we'll remove is, I'd say get rid of the perks. We'll get rid of the perks there. And then we'll change the snare back to the original snare, which was the blue one. Okay, and the claps, are they the same? They're the original one, that's fine. Maybe on this bit here, what we should do is put those claps in as well. That would work.
House is more than just a feel. House is more than just a feel.
Then back to the original claps. And that's it, brings us back around. And now here what we want to do is lose the kick. Keep everything going across. And the snare, get rid of the snare. Put the crashers in, like that. House is a feeling. The woo vocal, there, there, and there, and there. And one at the end. House is just a feeling there. Crashes there, and there. And this is where we're going to bring the track to an end. So basically, let's have a look at this. So we've got the acid and the bass line disappear here.
House is more than just a feel. House is more than just a feel.
So we've lost the perks. Then here we lose the kicks and the snare. And this is where you can mix it out into the next record. Put the kicks in on the very last one like this.
House is more than just a feel.
And there we go. That's the arrangement complete. That's done. So that comes in at 5:45, but minus I think 10 seconds from the start. So 5.5 minutes, 5:35, which isn't a bad length for a track. You don't want to be going into 7.5, 8 minutes now. A lot of tracks tend not to go down that route as much anymore. A lot do, but it's good to have a track 5.5 minutes, 6 minutes maximum. And in that space, we've got everything in there. We've got the intro, the build-up, the drop, the main body, the drum solo, the bit where it builds back up, the main body again, and then all the way through to the outro. So we've got everything in there within that space, and it's not rushed. So that lesson is now complete. The arrangement is done. What we have to do now is head over to the next lesson when you're ready, and we're going to do the effects and the automation and probably some EQ and reverbs and stuff. We're going to do a lot of the more technical sort of stuff now, where we start to put everything in its place and pan things and stuff like that, so that the mix can start to develop and nice and clearly. So that's it. Any questions, just email me and I'll respond as usual, and head over to the next lesson where we're going to start with the effects, as I said. Thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next lesson. The arrangement is now complete, and what we have to do now is some automation and some effects. So some of the stuff I've done throughout the track has put effects on, but like the piano and stuff, but basically we're going to add more reverb and delay to certain things, and then we're going to automate the acid. Okay, so as you can see, since the last session, obviously you'll have this in the template when you open it, but I've put the markers in now for the tracks so that you can use this as a template and reference for your own tracks in future. So you can see that I've got the hi-hat and claps intro there, and then the kicks kick in, bass enters, chords enter, breakdown, main body, etc. And it all goes across like that. So if you was to delete everything, you could use those flag markers to put your own stuff in place. Okay, so let's look at the acid bass line. This is where we need to automate the acid so that it moves and has a lot of flexibility rather than staying static, because acid bass lines don't stay static. And if you remember, what we did was we added the configuration here from the frequency, the res, and the envelope. So what we do is we automate these three parameters here like so. So we're going to drop down the acid thing here. Make sure that your keychain is on here so you can see. And it says base station here, and then we've got the drop down here with the filter, the res, and the frequency modulation envelope. We want to start it low. So what the thing to do is to get the frequency sorted first. So like we did with the automation on the minor chord, we're going to bring it down and we're going to start it quite low. So what we want to do is we want to put a dot there, and then a dot at the end here, and then a dot here, just so we can rise it up like so. And then when we get to this point, we can just mess about with it there. So I'm going to start low like this, but we want it to go up on every block. By the time it gets to the next block, it starts rising. But as that's doing that, what we want to do is we want to add resonance as well. And by the time we get here, we probably want it to go higher. But we want it to come down like that. As it gets higher and higher. And then it drops again, so that when it gets to the main body, we want it to have a little bit of movement in there, so it's going up and down rather than staying high, like so. So now what I'll do is I'll change the frequency to the resonance, and then the resonance, what we want to do is we want to keep this low, so we'll do a dot there, bring it down at the moment, but then we want to bring this up quite high in peaks. This is basically, don't forget, this is pure improvisation, okay? There's no right or wrong way of doing this. You can do this however you choose. It's completely free and flexible. This is just a simple guide. So you move it up and down as much as possible. Put as many dots in as you want, so it just moves about a lot.
Back to the old school.
When we get to this peak here, we want it to go up. So what we'll do is we'll put more bottom end on the frequency here and here. So it drops right down here so that it goes against the resonance. Like that. We'll bring it down a bit more. Probably bring it up a little bit there. So that when the frequency drops, the resonance stays high. So that it gives it that squelchy feeling. That's what we want. We'll bring it down right there, and then here at this point we're going to bring it up like so. So it goes like this. But we can't quite hear it, so what we've got to do is change the frequency on the resonance. Bring the resonance up like that. And then we'll probably drop this a little bit more, so it comes down a bit more, so it's bassy. There you go. That's better. So you rise it up. But then what you do is you'll do dots on each line like this, so that it moves every 2 kicks, so that just gives it that extra sort of movement that you want. You can move this about however you choose, but just follow my guide as a simple structure, so it goes up and down and it goes round. Whatever you want to do, you know, just don't be afraid to experiment with it. It's really important that you experiment and you create your own style with it. And then the same for the res. Drop the res, bring the res up, drop it, rise it. You know, be as moving as possible as you can with it. Okay? Don't be afraid to experiment at all. That's the whole beauty of acid house. You can experiment with it, you know, as much as you want. point, we dropped out the high strings, remember? So we kind of want the acid to kind of cool out a bit and not be so intense like this part here. But, you know, you can still go off on one if you want to. But I would suggest we wait until we get to the point here where we start to chill it out a bit more. So we'll leave it a bit static there just to let it breathe a bit. And then get over to this point and we'll start throwing it around a bit. So let's get the frequency all sorted again. Keep it kind of chilled out a bit there. Bring it down a bit. But then up here we start to raise it again because it's going to come to a change here where the piano disappears and we're going to go pure acid and bass. So we kind of want a bit of chaos in there. If you've got a MIDI controller, you can use the dials on there to really go nuts on it if you wanted to. You know, you can really go Josh Wink on it if you want. But this is just a guide, as I say. And then with the envelope, modulation envelope, we can move it down here. So we'll keep it here. Basically what this does is changes the frequency of the acid line as the top two moves. So basically you've got the frequency going up and down, you've got the resonance doing the squelchy thing, and then with this just helps it keep a bass frequency like that. Look, it drops, you know, it goes right down. So you want to kind of keep it in the mid. You can go up with it. This gives it that sort of, drop it right down, look, but it's too much. So you want to kind of keep it there.
Back to the old school.
A bit too low there. Try not to go too low with this modulation. Go too low with the modulation envelope. Just going to keep it, you know, pretty straightforward. And then we get to this point when the piano drops out. Now you can go off on one a bit more. You know, you can keep it chilled a bit. We can go off on one. Let's change the res.
House is more than just a feel.
Now this bit with the flat note. What you want is with the flat note, you want it to be kind of high and then working its way down to go just flat out. What we should do actually here, thinking about it, is we're backtracking a little bit, but let's just loop the very first bass notes. So you're just going to have those 4 notes there. That works a lot better. Because of the key change, we don't want that key change in there. So that's just a little bit of a backtrack there. But that's one of the things about making tracks. You're always going back and changing things anyway. So the resonance here, then we've got that up. You can have that going up a bit higher. As your frequency drops here, you're going to notice it's going to. So that's it for the Acid 303. You know, as I say, it's purely experimentation. Just use what I've done as a guide, but by all means do experiment with it because it's great fun to do. So that's that bit done. Now what we want to do is we want to go to session view and we want to add a little bit of delay to the acid because we've not put any on. So what we could do is just turn the send up on B to about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, put some reverb on it about 11 o'clock, okay? And the same for the high string, put some reverb on it about midday, about 12 o'clock, and a little bit of delay on there as well, about 11 o'clock, not too much. And I put a bit of reverb on the bass, not too much, just about 9 o'clock if you go a quarter of the way up, okay? And then the piano's already got some on. The minor chord could do with some reverb, so put some on there at about 11 o'clock, just enough to give it a little bit of a tail end. So if we solo the acid now, you can hear the delay. And let's see how it builds up. Just moves a lot. It's just great how it moves. It's just got that classic sound. there you go. So go ahead and experiment with the acid frequency automation. Put some reverb and delays on the instruments that I've just shown you, and then head over to the next lesson where we are going to begin the mixdown process on the drums. Any questions, just email me and I'll respond in 24 hours usually. Thank you and good luck and goodbye. Hi and welcome to this lesson where we're going to focus on mixing down the drums. So the track's complete, we've done the automation. All we want to do now is do a mixdown to get the track sounding nice and clear and everything is in its perfect place. So mixdowns alternate between every track you make. They're always going to be different no matter what you do. You're always going to EQ your kicks different and your snares different in every track. Even if you use the same set of drums, there's always going to be something different. So what I'm going to do here is a basic mixdown, and just to give you the tools just to improve your own mix skills as well. So best thing to do is to find a part of the track that is the busiest, which is the main body, like so. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop just the first part of it, like so, and we're going to solo the kick. And if you remember, we put on a drum bus at the start. So we've got the drum bus on there, it's soft with 20%, and it just gives us that pumping feeling that we want. So best thing to do is grab an EQ8 and put it just before the drum bus. Okay, and let's press play, and you'll see the frequency of the kick there, look. So what we want to do is, there's obviously nothing going on at the top end hardly. The mid-range is okay, but what we want to do is we want to change frequency 1 to a second one down, which is a low pass filter, and we want to cut out a little bit of those bottom end frequencies so it's not too subby, because it's already pumping through as it is. And then we want to take frequency 2, and if you can hear it going up, obviously we don't want to go up there, but we want to keep that kind of roundness. And if we bring in frequency 3, remember to have, before we go any further, your master volume on -6. Okay, bring 3 down, push 3 up, it starts popping. Bring it down and around the shape of the frequency chart. You want it to be around within the 40 to the 100 hertz here on frequency 2. Keep number 1 at about there, so you've got that kind of bend, and number 2, if you go over to about here, it starts thinning out and the boom disappears. Bring it back in, we want that boom in there, so let's go for around the 55 hertz mark. And then number 3, bring it down a bit. If you bring down number 4, it starts going dull and flat. We want a bit of pop on it, but just around there. And then bring up 2 again, and you can just start experimenting with it. So around the 50 to 60 mark. Okay. And let's look at the actual kit itself. So if you click on the kick drum here, look at the low gain, turn that down a bit to full, but don't have it up high. Turn it to about -3, and it just pumps through. And just keep your eye on your levels here like that. Look, you don't want it going into the red. So that's pretty much it. It's got a nice thump to it. It's got the drum bus on as well. Take that off and listen to it now. You can have the dampener up, just give it that pop, and keep the drive at, you can even have the drive at 10. It's entirely up to you, somewhere around there. Obviously the higher you go, the more heavy it gets, but 15, 20 is fine. Next up then, what we want to do, I mean we could compress the kick, but I don't think we need to at the moment. I think we've got enough pumping through with the compressor, with the drum bus anyway, which has got a compressor on it. Let's put that on and see what it sounds like. Pounding. Take it off. But if you put the compressor on, turn the trim down a bit, does it make a difference? Put the trim back up, turn the trim down, put the compressor on. You could, either way you could have both, but I'm going to turn it off and have it up full like that so it's coming in through naturally. Next up is the snare. Let's put some reverb on that. Not too much, just about 9 o'clock. And then on the snare, get an EQ8, and we want to bring out the snappiness in the mid to high range, like that. So change the first one to a low pass, cut it out. You want it kind of snappy, but not too snappy. You don't want it too trebly. So you could put EQ8 on and cut out the higher frequencies there. There you go. It just brings out the snappiness of it. But don't forget, look, we've got it going into the red a bit here. So the best thing to do would be to bring it down a bit, just so that it doesn't clip, and then bring it up a bit more on the 3 and 4, just to keep it within the parameters before it goes into the red. Next up, we want the clap. Same again, get an EQ on the clap. Raise the top end. Bring the volume down a bit. Just have the clap, just, you know, don't have it too loud, you know. Change the first one to a low pass again. Cut out some of that bottom end, because the top end and the mid frequencies are where we want to be. And we could pan the clap slightly to the right to 1 o'clock, very, very gently. And just give it a little bit of space. You could put it to 11, but the snare's over that way more. So what we're going to do is have the clap on the 1 o'clock, like that. So that just gives us that, you know, a little bit of space with the clap. Next up then, what we want to do is probably the hi-hats. So get a bit of reverb on the hi-hats, again about 9 o'clock, EQ8, and the top end. So we could lose the first one. So on this, what we'll do is we'll turn off 1 and 2, get rid of those, change 3 to a low pass, and then that way we're only focusing on the higher frequencies, because that's what hi-hat is anyway. And it's how sharp that is now. Bring it down a nudge if you need to, if it's too piercing. Take the EQ off. The difference. It's that simple. So that's that bit done. It's very straightforward what we're doing. Snare roll. What we need to do with these snare rolls is to put an automation on them from the mixer, so that it doesn't come in so aggressive like this. This is what it sounds like. It comes in straight away. So what we need to do is change the mixer panel here to volume. Okay? And then what we do is a dot here, and a dot here, and a dot here. So we have a dot between each one, so that it doesn't mess with each frequency of the automation. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop this just about 3 decibels, probably 4. So that it basically, if we go to session view, you'll see that it's controlled now with the automation, so that it rises up automatically. Look, it's going up. And then put on the reverb as well on the snare roll. So we've done that with the track volume, as you can see. We just dropped it a bit, so that we don't want it coming in at the same volume all the way. Just gently cruises up. And the same for the orange ones. Do a similar thing to them. Just bring them down a bit. But bring these down 3 dB, 3 decibels, so that they're not as... But and the kicks as well. We could do the same on the kicks with them. But I think we should leave the kicks because they're in continuously anyway. So let's keep them at the same volume. So what you can do now to save time is to select the bottom half of this, not the orange part. Right click, copy, and go to each one of your snares and paste that in. Control and V, Command and V, on all of your small snare rolls throughout the track. So you don't have to individually change them by hand. You can just copy and paste the same automation over, so that it saves you time doing so. Otherwise it will take you, a while to do, which is okay in one respect, but we don't need to. And then the same for this one here. We can change this one slightly. So this one, 1, 2, 3, bring it down 4 dB. There we go. Okay, right. Cool. So that's that done. Let's get the crash done. So the crash, let's solo that. What we need to do is just get an EQ8 on the crash and take the bottom 1 and 2 off, change number 3 to a low pass, similar to what we did with the hi-hat, and raise it slightly. We might have to drop the level of volume on this actually. So there we go. Look, I've already dropped it down anyway, look. So let's loop that. Keep it nice and crisp. And then let's have a listen to that when it cuts over. There you go, look. So if we solo the crash, take the frequency off, it's really dull. Put it on, that's crisp. And there you go. That's nice and clear. So we've got the next part we want to do then is the toms. So let's go over to the toms. Where are the toms? Here they are. Okay, let's put them on with this section here. Look, so again, get an EQA. Did we put any reverb on them? No, we didn't. So let's put a bit of reverb on the toms, just at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And it's obviously a very kind of poppy sound, so we're focusing on the mid-range here. Look, we want to pump through so that they're not thin. So we'll cut out the bottom end and do a low pass on frequency 1. Number 4, we want to bring that down a bit. You could round it off. Let's have a look with a high pass like so, but not too much. That's without, quite thin. We've beefed them up a bit now. But what we should do is play them with a kick. So let's go to this section for this time being. Loop this. Let's take the EQ off. It's there, but you can't quite feel it. Now you can feel them. So work around those mid frequencies there. There's low to mid frequencies there. Okay, so that's your toms basically, with a little bit of reverb on. And then next up, what we want to do is the perks. So let's solo the perks without the toms on at the minute. We've already got a bit of delay on there. Let's add a little bit of reverb. You could go to about 10, 11 o'clock here. EQ 8. High to mid frequencies, the mid to highs. Because they're quite trebly sort of sounds anyway. So let's let's put a low pass on number 1 and just cut it out a bit. And focus around here, look. Take it off. Just brighten it up a bit. And let's put it on with the toms. But what we'll do with the toms and the perk is we'll pan them. So pan the perks to 1 o'clock and the toms to 11 o'clock. Okay, and it just gives it a little bit of space and a bit of width. Bring it down a bit if you need to, if it clips. And there you go. And there you go, there's your drums basically. That's a straightforward sort of basic generic EQ. You can do a lot more with it. We might end up at the end of the track grouping the drums and putting some saturator on and stuff like that and just give it a real bit more grit. So that's possibly what we might do in the next episode once we've EQ'd the bass lines and the instruments. So that's it for this lesson. Quick recap, we've EQ'd the kick, the snare roll, the claps, the hi-hats, the toms, the perks and the crash. So the drums are nice and tight. We're just going to give them a little bit of we've just given them basically, a nice basic overall mix down. Any questions, just contact me and I'll respond in 24 hours, as you know. Head over to the next lesson when you're ready, and then we'll focus on the bass line and the instruments from there. Thank you and goodbye. Hi, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to mix down the bass and the high string. Now, if you remember, we got the lately bass from the OXE. And what we want to do is we want to give that a little bit of a boost so that it comes through in the mix clean. And on top. So basically, if we look at the bass now, I've soloed the bass with just the kick. And what we want to do is you want to loop a part of the track where it's the busiest. So in this case, it's the main body. So we've just looped the bass and the kick on its own. And there we go. So if we go to session view, you'll see that the bass is only coming up to 12, look, minus 12. So we've got a little bit of reverb on, which is fine. But what we want to do is we want to boost it so it really comes up in the mix. So we're going to get and EQ8, and we're just going to boost the low frequencies here. The high frequencies, there's not a lot going on, as you can see. So what we need to do is change number 1 to a low pass filter there, and just cut out the bottom end. Don't have it, you know, too low. Just want to cut it out a bit there. But if you can hear the subbiness in the bass, if I solo the bass on its own, if you can hear that underneath it, there's on top of that resonance squelch, there's a low frequency. There's that under there. And we want to keep that, but we want to keep the top end squelch as well. So the thing to do is change number 4 to a high pass filter, which is the second from the bottom, and bring it. See, if you go all the way across, look, you can hear that rumble now. And we want to kind of keep that rumble. But then we'll bring number 4 back across here, just so you can still get that top end squelchiness, that trebly bit. And then number 3, bring it up to about, where we're looking at, about 4 dB. And change your Q. Just close your Q down, but then open it up. Gets brighter. Look at the volume now on the channel. It's just a lot more thicker. So put your Q on number 3 at about 60, 70. And number 2 is at about 5 dB is good there. If we take that off now, listen to the difference. And there you go. But then what we want to do is we want to compress it. So put a compressor on. Give it a ratio of about 3.5. And give it a slow attack. So let's say 350. Just to that. And then a slow attack at about 30. And then what we want to do is keep the release at about 30, 25, 30, somewhere around there. But then bring your threshold down to about 25. You can hear that really pumping up now. But what we want to do is it's too loud. So what we want to do is probably turn the attack down a bit. It's really rumbling through. So what we need to do is probably work on the... But that really pumps through now. Make sure it doesn't clip. If you turn the ratio down, you get back to normal. So about 2.5 on the ratio, maybe. As I say, this is constantly trial and error. And if I take that off and that off, there's nothing there, is there? And that's probably about there. You could work on trying to make it less squelchy, but just a tiny bit, and that's it. Look, keep your bass at 0 on the level, and then put on the drums. And there we have a nice thick bass. You could put the attack up a bit more, but just make sure it doesn't clip. And that's it, you've got a really thick, solid bass there. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is the high string. So, get to the high string and solo that. And what we want to do with that is cut out the low frequencies and lower the volume on it. So just get an EQ8 again. And it's quite... There's no real low frequencies at all. So take off number 1 and number 2. Change number 3 to a low pass. And then we're going to bring it out. But we want to keep some of that bottom in there, some of that those mid frequencies of the pad. You can tell the difference. But then lower the master volume and pan it slightly to 1 o'clock and put the bass on and the kick. And just bring your volume down a bit. And there we go. We've just taken this. If we play it without the EQ and with the EQ, without. Thinner, which means in turn that gives the bass a chance to shine through, so it's not being muddled up by those mid frequencies of that pad sound. Okay, so that's that. Depends how much you want it to pierce. It can sound quite good if you put the higher EQ up, if you know the top end up. But then don't forget, if it gets piercing, just lower the volume slightly. And make sure you've got some reverb on it and some delay on it as well around those figures, 11 and 12 o'clock mark. So that's it for this lesson. Let's just put the drums on with those two instruments. And there we go, it's shining through nice and clear. So that's it for this lesson. Head over to the next lesson where we're going to do the minor chord and the piano. Thank you, and any questions, just contact me. Take care, goodbye. Hi, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to focus on the minor chord pad and the piano. So let's solo the minor chord. It's quite a loud one, so it's obviously one of the main features of the track, so it needs to pump through without muddying up in the bass and getting lost in the mix. And also don't forget that we filtered it as well from the start, so it starts off on a low end and works its way up. So let's just check the auto filter on that. If you can see, it goes up and down, it does a lot of movement. So what we want to do is grab an EQ8 and let's look at the frequencies. It's all around the mid when it gets going, but at the beginning it's all around the bottom bit, and then by this point it's all over here. So what we want to do is want to focus on these areas just here. So I'm just going to... it's kind of got a bit of a crackle to it, so we kind of want to lose that. So let's change the last one. And just have it so it fizzes just enough there, so the fizziness just comes out there. We don't want all that mud in it. So we want to change the number 1 to a low pass. And just find that sweet spot. Just there. We want it to kind of come through in the bass, but we don't want it to crackle and distort. So bring number 3 down to about -2, -3. You can hear it quite crackly now without the EQ. But now we've taken that bottom end, that top end, and lowered it. Nice and crisp now, so it's just quite a really simple EQ to do. That is, it just needs to lose that gravel, the grit that was in there. So yeah, just very gently lower your frequencies here, look, so you kind of make that little dip. So if you go up there, it's just going to be crackly. If we put the bass on, high string. So what we need to do is just probably lower it on the master channel as well of the sound. So on the EQ, on the volume, but let's pan it slightly 11 o'clock. Let's just pan it the opposite way as to where the high string is. Makes such a difference because it's focused more on the left side than the right side, and those two instruments kind of, complement each other more now. They're not fighting for the same central space. So you want to get your number 1 at around 86 Hertz, 85, 80 Hertz, number 2 at around 240, number 3 at around 900, just a little dip in there, that's all you need. And then cut off the end with a high pass filter at the end and bring it right in so you get rid of the muddy sort of clicky bits at the end. And there we go. And just lower the volume on the master channel of the sound, on the actual master level. So that's that, really. Let's put on the drums with that, and let's see how it fares with those bits in there. I'm just going to drop my hi-hat back. Sounds really nice. So, next up is the piano, and let's just solo that. If we look at our piano, we've got a reverb on there, we've also got one on the actual plugin. So let's take the one off on the plugin off and turn that down. That's better. Now then, get an EQ8 on the piano, and we're going to do a lot of cutting on the piano. We're going to take away the bottom ends. So change number 1 to a low pass and bring it across. The frequencies are around here, look, the middle. You need to bring it up in the top end of it so it kind of becomes brighter. So we need to just raise the top end slightly on the 4, and we're going to have to dip the volume maybe. We've got an automation on here, if you remember. So if we click on mixer, track volume, at the very start here we have this fading up. But what we want to do, I'm just going to, what we did earlier where we delete those dots, just select the low part of the clips, don't select the top bit, press delete, and you'll get one flat line. What we want to do, we've got it at 0 dB, but what we want to do is probably bring it down, let's try 4 dB. And that's it. So that so we're not messing with that automation basically, but we've still got the automation. So when we've got the track in full swing, which will be here, let's just play it from the loop. Put the minor chord on. And what we want to do with the piano is we want to, let's try the piano with the high string, and we'll decide whether we want to pan it right or left. So that's right. It should go the same way as the high string, so pan it to 1 o'clock slightly. So all we've got to do with the piano really is cut the bottom end out, turn the reverb off on the actual plugin, and just raise number 4 so we get a bit of brightness in there. So if we listen to the piano without the EQ, how dull it is. Stands out in the mix now, nice and clear. And there we go. And there you go, perfect. That's how we do the piano. So we take the bottom end out, raise it up on the top end and give it a bit of brightness so that it shines through. It goes well with the bass and the high string and the minor chord as well. Because it's kind of like the main feature of the track, I suppose. I mean, you could go down another dB, another decibel with the main. You know, you could drop it to 5 and it will still sound quite loud. So let's go back up. There, let's do it about there. So you just right click on it, edit value minus 5.0, and there you go. That's just a little bit better. Taking it down 1 more dB works. So try around that. Make sure you lower it in the mix so that it's not so piercing. So that's it. A quick recap on that. We've gotten to the minor chord and we've dipped it and we've taken out the bottom end and the top end and lowered the mid frequencies so that it doesn't crackle, because it's one of those kind of sounds that has the potential to crackle if it's not EQ'd right. And the piano, take the bottom end out and lower it in the master volume on the channel. And then raise the top end really and just give it that little bit of shine that it needs, and that's it. And it's starting to come together. We've got to just do a couple more things now and then we'll be done with it. So that's it for this lesson. Any questions, just email me and I'll respond within 24 hours and I will speak to you in the next lesson. Thank you and goodbye. Hi, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to focus on the Acid 303 line. So all we need to do really with the Acid, because it moves about continuously, is we just want to boost up, you know, the top end and the bottom end. So we just want to just give it some raise in the EQ. So let's just get an EQ8 on the Acid and solo it and play it from the start and roll it through and just raise up, because you'll see the frequency will go all the way across as it moves up the frequency on here on the automation. So get to the main body. I'm just going to take the bottom end out like that. You can hear the reverb. So just put the reverb about 9 o'clock. Make sure the delay is about 2 o'clock. And just focus on them. And then put the bass on. And a kick. Now lower the volume on the Acid. Just drop it a couple of dB. about raising the top bit so that the resonance comes through clear. And then, just so that there's not so much bottom end, drop it slightly so that it doesn't clash with the main bass. High string, minor chord, piano. And pan it to 11 o'clock. So it's the opposite of the piano. So really all you need to do is just to EQ it across, take the bottom out here, kind of get those peaks there on the second one and give it a bit in the mid-range and a fair bit in the higher EQ there. Because it moves a lot, it's quite difficult to, get a permanent fix on it, but the way it works with the acid is because it moves about a bit, the frequencies are going to throw themselves around. So you just want to kind of get that, a bit of everything EQ'd there. So a bit of the bottom end comes up and the top end comes up as well. So you get the best of both worlds. And then we're going to take it off the EQ. So it just drops completely. But now you've EQ'd it here, it's going to come through clearer. And that's that. That's all we do for the acid. Just a slight EQ on the top and the bottom and a bit on the middle. Just to bring it through and pan it slightly to 11 o'clock. Okay, next thing we're going to do is, I'm going to do the vocals in another lesson, but what we should do is group all of the drums and give them a bit of saturation and a bit of a glue compression. Just so that they get a bit more power to them. It's a very subtle, but it's quite effective. And they're going to select all of the drum sounds. Okay, so you highlight all the drum sounds, right click and group tracks. Now they'll put all the drums into a group now, and then on that drum group, what you want to do is get a saturator from down here, get a standard saturator and change it to a digital clip. You can experiment with all of these, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. Change the dry wet to about 90% so it's not so heavy. Just solo your drums at the moment and play them. And go to the saturator, and then what we want to do is get a glue compressor, put that on, make up at about 365, 3 dB, 3 decibels, somewhere like that, and the threshold at about 7. Put the soft clip on. Now if you take them off, it just gives them a tiny little bit of a raise. It gives them a bit more gravel, a bit more, oomph about them. You could use analog clip or soft sign. Soft sign's really aggressive, so if you want it to come through in the mix like really proper old school, acid house sort of style, then use the soft sign. If you listen to that. But turn your dry wet down if you do. But I'm going to go for the digital clip, 90% on the... It just has a little bit more fire to it. Turn the makeup up even more to about 5 dB. And there, that's only around 7 dB, minus 7. And you can just hear it instantly, the difference. It just helps the drums come through in a bit more aggression without it getting too, distorted. There, can you see the difference? And they're not clipping either, so that's what you have the soft clip on for. Look. And it gives the drums a bit more power when they come through in the mix. So by all means try that. So group your drums, saturator, digital clip, 90%, glue compressor, between 3 and 4 dB and around minus 7, 730 on the threshold, and put your soft clip on. And it just helps with the drums, have a little bit more character. And that acid sounds really good now with that EQ. Take it off. It's got no power behind it at all, but it has now. And there we go. That's it for this lesson. So head over to the next lesson where we're going to finally do the vocals, and then that should be it. And then we'll do a whole going over the track, making sure everything's in place, and then we will focus on the final product, which will be a master. Thanks for watching. Any questions, just contact me. Take care and goodbye. Hi, and welcome to this lesson where we're going to do the EQ on the vocals. Now, there's not a great deal to do. All we need to do is cut the bottom ends out and pan them slightly, just so that they come through clear in the mix. So the first one we'll do is the speech one, which is this one.
Back to the old school.
So let's just loop it around here. Let's get this.
House is more than just a feeling.
So let's loop this one.
House is more than just a feeling. House is more than just a feeling. House is more than just a feeling.
So you can hear that there's a lot of reverb on there, which we put on. We'll just turn the reverb down a bit to about 10 o'clock. And just let's have a look at that. Keep the delay at midday, so 12 o'clock. Get an EQ8, and we're going to take off the bottom end like so and just cut it down like this.
House is more than just a feeling.
As you can see, there's nothing going on down here anyway.
House is more than just a feeling.
And bring up the top end so it brightens up, it comes through nice and clear.
House is more than just a feeling.
But we want to nudge the volume down a little bit so that it doesn't clip. Okay.
House is more than just a feeling. House is more than just a feeling.
If we take off the EQ now,
House is more than just a feeling.
it's a lot brighter. And let's try the other one, the old school one.
Back to the old school. Back to the old school. Back to the old. Back to the old school.
So bring up the bottom end and the top and just curve off the bottom like that and brighten the top up.
Back to the old school.
And let's just pan it slightly to 11 o'clock.
Back to the old school.
And bring your volume down a bit more.
Back to the old school.
And that's okay. And then
House is more than just a feeling.
I'm thinking of panning it slightly to 1 o'clock.
House is more than just a feeling.
That's better.
Back to the old school. House is more than just a feeling. House is more than just a feeling. Back to the old school.
So that's it. That's all you have to do with that one is just cut the bottom end out, bring it across and raise it and pan it to 1 o'clock on that one. And the next one is the woo. So let's get that up. And we're going to loop that there. I'm just going to loop that. I'm just going to get rid of that one at the minute. Get an EQ8. Same process. High on the top. Middle. Cut the bottom end. Bring it in. Check the volumes. That's cool. Pan it to the left. Bring it down. Let's put that on.
Old school. Back to the old school.
Bring it down a bit more.
Back to the old school.
And that's it really. That's all you need to do. So let's check the main bit here where it has the build up. Take the EQ off. Just go.
Back to the old school.
And just nudge it down a couple of dBs if you feel it's just a little bit too bright.
Back to the old school.
Nice and clear now.
Back to the old school. House is more than just a feeling. House is more than just a feeling.
It's nice and clear. It's got a lot of power. It's just all it is just raising the bottom ends of the EQ.
House is more than just a feeling.
And that is it. That's all you have to do for the EQ. So, just a quick recap then. You just bring out the bottom end, you cut off the bottom end, you bring up on the high end, and you pan them both slightly so that they pan in opposite directions. And that just helps with the mix and just spaces them out a bit rather than them all being centralized. So, let's do a quick recap then over the whole track. So, we've done all of the EQ, we've grouped the drums, you know, we've got everything, you know, sounding nice. Let's just go through it and roll it through. You've got a nice boom on the kick now with saturated them. Just gonna close that in. And then we've got the bass line is EQ'd. The minor chords are there. piano and the vocals, high strings. Acid. And just make sure that all your levels aren't clipping. There's no clipping on the levels whatsoever, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to make sure that the master volume itself over here on the right has enough space for us so that when we've got at least minus 6 dB here free, so that when we bounce this as a wave, we can then take it back and put a mastering on it, so we've got 6 dB of space to master it with. Now, I'm not a mastering engineer. Normally what I use is a service called Cloud Bounce, and you can pay them a few dollars and then it automatically masters it for you, and it's really good. But for the purposes of this and for the purposes of you to save you any extra money, we'll do a quick master in here in the next session. So what that requires us to do is to go through the track, okay, make sure nothing's clipping, which it isn't.
Back to the old school.
So you just want to make sure all your levels are right, you've got your pannings done, and nothing's distorted or is, you know, taking over in the mix as such. And just keep your eye on your master channel here, look.
Back to the old school.
Sounds okay. And then what we're going to do then is we need to bounce the whole thing. So the first tip here when you're bouncing something is sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes with an Ableton, if you bounce something without having any silence at the start and end, you're going to lose a tiny section, like a real millisecond of audio. So the best thing to do is to find a channel that's got MIDI on, so for example this one, and double click at the start and put a blank MIDI clip in there, right? So you've got a couple of seconds, you know, of dead space there. And then at the very end of your track, if you've got something that delays, like the woo for example, you want to do the same at the end there, a tiny little MIDI clip that's got no data in whatsoever, no notes on at all, away from the final clips. So if you was to not do that, when it got here, it would just cut dead short there, and it would cut off the reverb and the delay in the ending of the track. So put a dead MIDI clip at the end and at the start of the track, and it gives you a couple of seconds silence so that it collects all of the audio. So that's just a useful tip there. It doesn't always happen, but it can definitely happen on the end. At the beginning I'm not so sure, but I don't like to take that chance. So like that, look, you've got 2 seconds of spare audio, of blank audio, so that when you master it, you're not losing any audio. So next thing to do then is to save your track, and then go to export, which is export audio. Click on that and it will ask you to render track master is what you want, and just press export, save it as your desktop, and it will bounce across the screen obviously, and it will save as a wave. And then from there on we're going to put that wave back into Ableton, and then we're going to put a master on it. You can master it like this and put it on the actual master channel now, but I think it's better to put in a audio wave of the whole track separate from the MIDI channels and all that, and then master it that way. So what you need to do then is get all your levels right, export audio, export, and then with the wave you're going to put it back into Ableton as a single audio channel, and then we're going to do a little mastering on that. Thanks for watching. Any questions, just contact me. Take care and goodbye. Hey there, and welcome to this final lesson of the tutorial. Now we should have bounced the track down from the original template into one audio stem. Now, that's the actual audio file of the track. Now, if you remember, I told you to put a bit of dead silence at the beginning, and that's for this purpose, so that we get all of the audio in and it doesn't clip a tiny bit off the start, which could possibly happen. So it's always wise to have that little bit of dead audio at the start and at the end as well, otherwise you would lose that delay at the end. Because if you didn't do that, it would just cut off where the last clip was, like this, and it would just lose that last bit, which you don't want to do. So as I say, always wise to have that on the end there, and that's the reason why. Now then, double click on it and take off the warp, okay, because we don't want the warp on. And just make sure that it's in line with the first beat, like so, which it is. Okay, so check it with the metronome. And then go to master down here, and in the mastering panel we're going to put in a mastering suite. Now there's a load of these to choose from in Ableton. This is just a guide, by the way, don't forget. You can use a online mastering service or an actual mastering engineer, whatever you prefer. But I'm going to use the one in the audio effects rack up here, and in there's mastering and mixing. Look, mixing, mastering, and there's all of these mastering suites to choose from. Now obviously they're all different ones for different genres. There's all sorts of things in here. Now all I'm going to do is use the Punchy Dance Master. Now on the master channel we put that down there into that, but this is going to have a bit of bass on, so we want to take the bass off. So listen, it's just too bassy, so just turn the bass gain down to about -2, and if you can listen to it without and with, that's without, and turn down the high gain a bit as well. Just turn that down to about -1. And there you go. Now what I'm going to do there is just play it over here.
House is more than just a feel.
That's with, without. Without and with. Now the reason I'm doing this is that I am not a mastering engineer by any stretch. I always use outsource mastering. So this is just to give you an option without having to spend any more money. But by all means, if you want to put it through something like Cloud Bounce or Landar or something, then go for it. But just for you to use this so that you can get a master copy, play it in your car and your DJ sets and give it your friends, etc., you've got a more pumped up version. So obviously there's no wrong or right way of doing this. You can choose from any of these mastering suites. Meaty Analog Master is quite a good one too for dance music. But there's loads in there that I haven't really used as such. You've got analog tape, channel strip. There's all sorts of stuff that you can use. But just be mindful of the levels. Tweak the levels slightly, like we just did with the bass and the high ends. So that's all I'm going to do on that. And now I'm going to make sure that I get the audio bounced again. Now it's got the mastering suite on it. Now if you just look at the levels of the mastering, when I play the track in the main part, so here, you can see that it doesn't clip.
House is more than just a feel.
And that's just obviously because it's got a limiter on, so it's not going to clip and distort. So now I'm going to bounce that over and then we're going to show the difference. Okay, here goes. So I'm going to go to File, Export Audio, and then I'm going to hit Export and then I'll put it back in. Okay, so I've reinstalled the mastered version. I've bounced it and now I've installed it back into here, look. And I've lined it up in exactly the same place as the unmastered version. And you can see the difference in the wave. The wave's got bigger, it's chunkier, it's got all of the mastering attached to it now. So if I play my version, the original, and now the mastered, just comes through nice and crisp and fat. That's the unmastered version, that's the mastered version.
More than just a feel.
So there you go, you can see that it's absolutely a huge difference there. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope that you've really learned something from this and that you can take these skills and techniques and apply them to your own music in future. There's a lot to take in, but if you stick at it and you keep going, you can just constantly build on your skills and get better and better as you progress through each track. There's going to be times when you can't do it or you feel you can't do it, and it's just you need to just stop and then go back to it a day later. But never give up producing music if it's something you thoroughly enjoy. So that's it for the mastering. So now we've got a mastered version, final mix down of the track of the acid influenced, Chicago influenced house track from the 80s, using the modern techniques with Ableton and all the plugins and stuff. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Please don't be afraid to contact me and ask me for tips, advice, help, etc. And I'll always give you some advice if I can help you. So thank you very much for taking part in this course, and I hope to see you in future courses. Thank you and goodbye, and good luck with your music too. Thanks a lot. Cheers.